We have hello, volume up. We have a sign-up sheet for anybody who would like to speak to any one of the bills on the table up front. If you want to sign your name and which bill you would like to address. Representative Canal. Yes, sir. Will you say a prayer for us this morning? We got one more minute. Sorry, I'm late. You won't believe it. I've been talking somewhere. No, I can't believe that. Well, good on. It's 8 o'clock. What number are you? 16. All right, I'm going to ask Representative Kennard if he will open us with a word of prayer this morning. Y'all bow with us.
God, we thank you that your steadfast love never ceases, that your mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, and great is your faithfulness. We pray your blessings on this day and on this meeting. May we tap into a wisdom that's greater than our own, and it's in your name we pray. Amen.
All right, we do have a pretty full agenda this morning, but we need to respect the chairman's time and ask on House Bill 541, if y'all get that out of your packet, and then if the floor is yours, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Hold on, table mic. Let's try that.
All right. Is that, you got me now? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I bring to you House Bill 541. This is LC number 393750. Article 1, Chapter 6 of Title 40, which is current law, lays out the proper action for a motorist to take when approaching a sanitation vehicle, which is displaying a flashing yellow, amber, white, or red light, and is in the process of picking up curbside waste. It requires the motorist to slow down and pass a sanitation vehicle using the adjacent lane to pass if it is safe to do so, and if not safe to do so, reduce speed to a safe and proper speed for existing conditions. Like the sanitation vehicle, which travels in a stop-and-go fashion, postal service vehicles engaged in mail delivery also travel in a similar, non-standard stop-and-go manner. All House Bill 541 is doing is adding postal service vehicles to this existing code section. That's the bill. I'd appreciate your favorable consideration.
We do have one question, number 19, Representative McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my questions are on line 13 and 14. You're saying individual are delivering parcels or mail on behalf of the United States Postal Service. Can I do that in my personal car, or I'm just want to make sure that I understand, because
Sure.
I mean, I wouldn't know if it was your personal car. Postal vehicles, we know that are boxed. And
To answer the question, the Postal Service does deliver mail with Postal Service vehicles as well as private passenger vehicles. The key here, based on the existing code, is that there has to be flashing red, yellow, amber, whatever lights displayed. Now, as a practical matter, in talking with the Postal Service people, they are required to run their headlights and their flashers when they are in the course of actual delivery of the mail. Some of their other vehicles may be out on the road, and they may be parcel delivery, and they're traveling long distances from place to place. They're not required to have the lights on or headlights engaged at the time they're on the road, unless the law otherwise requires them to do so. But for the act of actually delivering the mail, whether it's a personal vehicle or whether it's a Postal Service owned vehicle, the key here is that there is a flashing light in place, just like on the sanitation vehicles.
thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right, it's like a fellow chairman told me, it's a shame we have to put stuff in law that where we live, it's common courtesy, we do it anyway.
Look, I get that,
everybody,
but we have unified rules of the
Yes.
road in code. If you don't state it, if it's not clear, then, it gets chaotic. So and I believe at some point in the past, we have had something in code, but for whatever reason, according to Legislative Council, it no longer is there, and I think this is a reasonable thing to do, to put that in code.
And I agree with you 100%. Representative Kennard.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chairman Lumpson, so there's no other identifying markings on the vehicle if someone's delivering with their personal car other than just the lights?
As a practical matter, they do have, even when using a personal vehicle on a rural route, say, they do have a placard that they put on the vehicle that says, U.S. Postal Service. But for the way that they're structured, they do have personal vehicles that they use as well as post office owned vehicles. But as I said, the requirement is for them to have the headlights and the flashers on, and it would only apply when the headlights and the flashers are on. If for some reason they didn't have them on, then they would not meet the criteria of the code section.
Thank you.
I think now would be the proper time. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, hopefully you can make that insurance committee meeting.
We're on our way.
All right, the next bill we're gonna hear this morning is 524, Representative Ridley. All right, tell us what bill number and what the LC number you have.
I have House Bill 524, LC number 393765. This bill is more just of a clarification bill. If you have the bill in front of you, you'll see on lines 18 and 19 and 37 and 38 the changes we are making, and then also 45 and 46. This bill is just clarifying the language on three-wheeled vehicles and what is the definition of a three-wheeled vehicle versus a car and a motorcycle. This says if you're a three-wheeled vehicle, and you can see on line 18 and 19, if it's a three-wheeled vehicle with seatbelt and a frame, the partially or fully enclose the operator. That clarifies the language to say it's not a motorcycle.
Number 24.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank Freshman Ridley. He might be the only Ridley that you can depend on right now. I want to thank him for bringing this bill forward. As the chair knows, I've been kind of inundated this session. This is a bill that I have, this is one of the several bills that I've been fooling with over the years. We've changed this several times from the motorcycle helmet law. A lot of the innovation and all, they've changed these three-wheel, instead of being a three-wheel motorcycle, they started enclosing them, putting safety equipment and such on there. So what we're specifying on here is to let it be known that if they're enclosed and if they got seat belts, they're not a motorcycle. You don't need to be wearing a helmet going down the road in a three-wheel car. And that's what this is doing, and I thank him for putting this in.
Representative McLean, number 19.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess, being an avid motorcycle rider and jumper myself, I understand where you're going with this. My only concern is these three wheels, they got windshields. I'm just, since you don't want goggles and you don't want helmets, I'm just trying to figure out exactly. My concern is that I understand the reason that they classified it as a motorcycle or a three-wheel, because it was no windshield or no doors or anything of that nature. So I'm just concerned about these three wheels. I could see, stuff getting in your eyes and your face. So talk to me.
Yes, sir. So these new three-wheeled vehicles that are coming out, there's several manufacturers across the country, and a lot of these new vehicles, they do have windshields, they have doors, they have roll-up windows, so they're much more like a car than a motorcycle. When you get into it, you feel like you're getting into a car because it's a traditional seat, steering wheel, seat belt, windshield, doors, roof. Some have a roof, some don't, or they're more like a convertible. So it's more of a traditional car than a motorcycle.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I want to follow up. My follow-up is only to the fact that are we talking about those vehicles? Or are we talking about all the three wheels that don't have doors and don't have windshields and don't have the other things that are needed to almost look like a car?
So the definition in the bill, we change it to the vehicle has to have a seat belt and a frame to partially or fully enclose the operator. So it's more of a car than the motorcycle.
But no windshield.
It doesn't state in the bill that there's a windshield, but it does say you have to be partially or fully enclosed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
All right, and my question to Chairman Powell, we have passed this bill out of this committee how many times?
We passed it a couple of times, different variations. Looks like every time we change it. Excuse me. Looks like every time we change it, they make some other innovation. They had one time they were partially enclosed and they had a steering wheel. Then they did different with that. But it's the key to my friend Dewey is that the frame that gives it a partially enclosed windshield. Some of them got windshields. I guess they all have windshields, quite frankly. But these are those little sport utility vehicles, like a three-wheel car.
Representative Kennard, number 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And these vehicles can be operated on the interstate?
Yes, sir. That takes anybody with a Class C license.
Seeing no further questions, what's the pleasure of the committee? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. You have your bill. All right, I think the next item on the agenda that we will go to now is 515, Representative McCullum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee.
And I'd like the next two will be hearing only unless we want to decide otherwise, but hearing only on these two.
Yes, sir. So I have Bill 515, LC 3689. Now, this bill has been, a similar type bill already has been on the House floor and passed with 9 dissents in the past. So it's not something that's new. So essentially what this bill is, if you go to line 2 through 28, so this bill is pretty much saying that we have you can get a temporary driver's license. If you get a DUI, you get a temporary driver's license. So essentially what this bill is doing is to get a temporary driver's license, you take the DUI course in order to get that driver's license. Now, the DUI course isn't just like a driving course. It's actually, I know mental health is a big issue now. It's actually a mental health type course. So what they do is they do an assessment on the person that's taking the course, and they figure out if they take the assessment before the course starts, and they figure out if they are essentially, they don't say it in the course, but an alcoholic, or where they're at on either drug use or alcohol use, whatever they were impaired with. And then they take that assessment, and it's a 20-hour course, and they do it's pretty much a mental health type counseling type thing. And then, obviously it's not just like a DUI course where you think about them driving. So they figure out and help the person figure out if they have an issue with alcohol or drugs. So the reason we are wanting to have the course to get the permit after the incident, they say that the closer you get the help to the incident, the better off you are as far as mental health wise, and you can figure out that you have a problem. So the way it works is if you get a DUI, you might not get any help. It could be 2 years before you go to court. And so this is, mental health people say that the closer you get it, the better off you are. And so this piece is just for DUIs. So if you have an incident and then you get the temporary driving permit, you get it then, not later. It doesn't affect anything. I know that DMV had an issue with child support. It doesn't affect, you don't have to get the course for child support to get a temporary driving permit, because you can get a temporary driving permit if you have, child support issues. So I just want to make sure that's clarified. So anyway, 2 through 28 is essentially that part, getting the DUI course for that. And then if you go through, let's see, 66 through 68, that's essentially the same language as that other, just to clean up part. And then 5, let's see. So 89 through 92 is essentially the same language, provided the program was completed. So what we're asking is the same thing there. And then on lines 135, they're asking, so the industry hasn't had an increase. The state sets the increase. They haven't had an increase in roughly about 10 years. So this is going up from 95 to 125 for the defensive driving course. Now, keep in mind that the owners of the DUIs, they don't get that full amount. The state gets $30 of that $100 or the $95. So, let's see, yeah. So the state gets $30 of that. It goes back to the general fund. So they're just asking for an increase from 95 to 125 for the course. And so they're asking for the increase there. And then on 144 to 145, that is, I take that, I'm sorry, I messed that up. So 95 to 125 is for the defensive driving course. That's for to take your points off of. That's not the DUI part. I apologize, I messed that up. So the 95 to 125 is the increase for a defensive driving course separate from the DUI. So that essentially would be if you need to reduce your points because you got too many tickets or anything like that. So that's that piece. Now, if you go down to 144, they're increasing it from 100 to 125. Now, on that piece, the state does get $30 of that one, which goes back to the general fund. And so that's the DUI piece there. And that's for a 20-hour course. The 95 to 125 is for a 6-hour defensive driving course to reduce your points if you had tickets, like if you're a CDL driver and you get too many tickets and you get too many points, it takes that off. All right, so on line 160, so that is what that is it's a risk reduction program that what they do is they do that assessment, and they figure out, it's a needs assessment, and they figure out, like I said before, where your issue is with drinking. Once they drinking are drugs or whatever, once they do this test, when you come in, they pretty much, the counselors know that are running the course kind of where you're at on the as far as alcohol wise or drugs. And then as they get into the course, they don't tell you what the assessment says, but as you get in the course, the student or the person that's taking the course kind of starts to realize that they have an issue. So, but the counselor already knows that because of the assessment. That's the assessment. So that's kind of why we want to make sure that we get the course to them sooner after the incident of them getting pulled over and getting a ticket. That's pretty much in a nutshell. I'd be be happy to sit for any questions.
Well, you have a few, it looks like. a
Yeah,
Christmas
I
tree.
figured I would, so.
We'll go in order the way they came in. Number 28, Representative Ridley.
Yes, sir. Well, I can honestly say I may have messed up here. This is the reason I don't sign bills on the way to the bathroom. You'd think 7 years doing this, I'd figure that out. I thought this bill, all we was doing was raising the fees, until I got a hold of this thing the other day and started kind of reading, or got a hold of it this morning and started reading through it. This risk thing, is it different than regular DUI school? Is it an addition to, regular DUI school?
No, so now the way the DUI school works is you get a DUI, or you get pulled over and get a ticket for DUI or taken to jail, and then you can either get it beforehand. Most lawyers will tell you, go ahead and do your DUI school before you go to court. And then because that way, when you go in front of a judge, and he's going to, if you obviously get convicted of a DUI, he's going this is mandatory. He's going to make you have this. But if you get it beforehand, the judge is just going to say, have you took DUI school? And you'll say yes. And then he'll just fine you because you've already done what you should have done in the first place, as far as in the judge's eyes.
So this is in addition to that?
No. So the only thing we're doing is we're moving it closer. We're trying to move it closer to help the state and help the people on the roads to get these people help faster. So now, if you get a ticket now, your court date might not be for 2 years. So you really didn't have to take the course until your court date or after even. You could actually wait till after, and then the judge will say, well, you got to take DUI school. But what we're doing now is they're going to get a temporary permit. So we're trying to get, if they get a temporary permit, we're trying to get them help quicker, because obviously they got to drive to work. So they get a temporary permit now, but to get the permit, you have to take the course. But what they're doing, like I said, we're moving it closer so they can get counseling and help now before they go to court.
Mr. Chairman, if I could. So
Yes.
if I get a DUI now,
Mm-hmm.
can I wait a week and go to the judge and he'll give me a permit to drive, a temporary permit, until I go to court now?
That's right.
But now I'm going to have to take a 20-hour course to get there, correct?
Right. So
Hang
Go
on,
ahead.
let me finish. So how am I supposed to get to go take this course if I don't have a driver's license?
well, you want a driver's license. So I mean, you can get somebody to take you. It'd be the same as before we had the driver permit.
But I'm guessing I'm saying we're making it harder on people. If you've already got a DUI, I mean, Les, you're talking about want to do a risk evaluation. If I get pulled over DUI, I can already tell you I'm not no doctor, but I probably got a problem.
Well, that's right. So we're trying to get you help for that.
Right. So now I'm going to go. If we pass this, I'm going to get DUI. I got to go take this 20-hour risk course to get my permit, my temporary permit to my court date, right? And then the judge, then I don't have to go to the DUI school that we have now, correct?
You don't have to go to the DUI school until you.
This will take place of that.
No, it's the same thing. All we're trying to do is move it closer to get you help faster.
But
You're going to have to take the DUI. If you can get convicted of a DUI, you're going to have to get the DUI course no matter what, one way or another.
so
Now-
this is an addition. That's what I'm trying to say.
No,
This-
it's the same thing. So what they're going to do is when you take the DUI course now, they're going to provide it to the state DMV. So you're going to have it on file that you took the course, and so then that way you'll be cleared on that. You're going to have to take it. It's either now, pay me now, or pay me later. But this part is we're trying to help them get counseling now, closer to the incident. You're going to have to take it either now or 2 years from now or a year from now when you go to court.
So you're saying who's saying that we need to do it closer? Is the DMV or the
No,
Department of-
just the mental health people that's do the course, that set up the course. I mean, if as you know, if you have a drug or alcohol problem, as soon as you take, sooner you get help, sooner you're going to get better, right? I mean, if you cut your arm, you go to the doctor. If you wait, you get.
Well, yeah, but I think it's a little different issue. But yeah,
Well, I mean, mental health is a different issue, and we've had this discussion a lot of times.
But this person has to be certified just like they do in the regular DUI school, correct?
Well, it is a regular DUI school, yes. I mean, they're going to be certified by the state, yes.
Okay.
All right, we
It's
got-
not. It's nothing in addition to what we already have. All we're trying to do is get them to take it, to get the temporary permit and get them help sooner.
We've got several other
Okay.
questions. I think the next one is Representative Kennard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the bill. So if I'm understanding you correctly, and it is true that most people abuse drugs and alcohol because there's an untreated mental health condition that's not being treated, and they're effectively self-medicating with substance. Are you saying that now embedded in the driver's course, the risk reduction course, will be a psychiatric evaluation?
They already have. I mean, it's already been in there. They already have an evaluation that helps you. You know, they go through and I've got people that can speak of it a little bit better than me, but they go through the day before you go to the course, and they take this evaluation that's put on, and they evaluate them to see where they're at on, you know, they answer these questions, you know, go down to see where they're at on their alcohol use or drug use or anything like that. And what's going on in their life, et cetera, et cetera. It's essentially a mental health questionnaire. So when they go to that course, that way they can see where they're at, the counselor can, and then as they go through the course, a lot of times they'll, you know, 8 hours in the course, a day in the course, they start seeing that they have a problem or an issue. They might say, you know, my wife's been telling me I'm an alcoholic for years, but I didn't believe her. So it's kind of just a tool that the assessment is a tool that they can use to help them with.
One more question, please.
Yes.
So is the person giving the assessment a mental health professional? And if so, if they determine that this person does have a mental health diagnosis, is there a accompanying treatment plan that they follow through with?
So if you go to court and you get a DUI, so they take this, say the judge mandates you to take this course. You take this course, and the people that are doing this course are trained. I mean, they're not, you know, they're counselors, I guess, per se. I don't know what their credentials are. I'm sure they can, you know, I got people here that can speak on that. But if you take this course, the judge says you got to take this course. You have to take this course, and then you have to have this course to have a follow-up counseling with a counselor. So you have to take this piece of paper saying you did the DUI part, then you go to a counselor that the state has as well, and you take that counseling as a follow-up counseling, like you said, yes.
That's what I was going. We've got somebody here that might could speak to that if he would like to, or waive, or if you want to come to the podium and speak to that question, you can probably address it better than anyone here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, staff, good morning. My name is Barry Schrank, president of Taggart's Driving School, and I represent the Georgia Association of Risk Reduction and Defensive Driving Educators, commonly referred to as GARD. I'm not currently licensed as a risk reduction instructor, but I had been for about 25 years. I just haven't taught the class in the last few years. I'm not quite sure where I should begin. There's a lot of information, and I'll try to make it quick. Basically, after a person gets that DUI, and they decide that maybe on advice of their attorney, and most defense attorneys will give them that advice, we want you to go to the risk reduction program. The common name for the risk reduction program is DUI school. Most people who are risk reduction instructors and involved in it dislike the term DUI school because of the connotations. And the curriculum that we use in that program, the 20-hour curriculum, is all based upon research. We were one of the first states in the country to use that curriculum from PRI, Prevention Research Institute. We're now on, I believe, edition number 10. It's changed all these times since 1990 when the state of Georgia mandated that would be the curriculum to be used in the state. And based on research, instructors have gone back. They have to take so many hours of continuing education. It's a much higher level than teaching a 6-hour defensive driving course. So in any event, someone receives a DUI, their attorney says, I want you to go to the DUI school or risk reduction program. When they walk in, the first thing they have to do is take an assessment. That assessment has about 120 or 130 questions on it about their lifestyle and their use of alcohol and or drugs. It was designed probably 30 or 40 years ago and updated since then several times by psychologists to determine where a person is in their use of alcohol and or drugs. That information is entered into a computer with ADE, and ADE is a company that has had that assessment in the state of Georgia and now 18 or 20 other states since 1990. Once the information is entered into the ADE computer, the school and the instructor gets a copy of the results. And sometimes it'll say, it has all kinds of different information in there. It will even say in the notes that this person is not being honest with this evaluation. They're given incorrect answers just based on question number 20 and maybe question number 40, that it's all figured out. And I can tell you after teaching the class lots of times with, hundreds and hundreds of students, that evaluation is extremely accurate. So any event, before the teacher starts the class, the instructor, and they're specially licensed by the Department of Driver Services, before they start the class, the instructor will go over those evaluations for the students in the class. And then the curriculum is followed. Somewhere around the 15th, 16th, 17th hour, the students will receive a copy of the evaluation. And that's when you hear in the student body, if you will, comments such as, well, I thought I was an alcoholic, and or I never thought I was an alcoholic, but I think I am, and now this evaluation is the proof of it. That evaluation eventually is sent to a counselor, and that counselor is specially trained. They're licensed and trained and receive education by DBHDD. There's a special list that DBHDD has, and there's hundreds of them around the state, counselors. Some of them are physicians specializing in addiction. Others are counselors. There's a variety of different people, backgrounds that can be counselors. But those that are on that list have received a lot of training, and it's ongoing training by the department to make sure that it's done properly. So that assessment is used in the classroom by the instructor, and then it's also used because after the person is finished taking that 20-hour class, they have to go to a licensed counselor for an evaluation. And that information gives the counselor a preview of what's going on with the student. And then they determine whether they need to do something else. Maybe it's a recommendation for AA, maybe it's a recommendation for an in-house program where they check in for 30 days someplace or 28-day program. And so that's how that evaluation is used. With respect to the curriculum itself, as I say, it was the state of Georgia did a test study, a pilot program, for 3 years from 1987 to 1990. And that's when they mandated that the curriculum, the risk reduction curriculum from PRI, Prevention Research Institute, was mandated. Since that time, as I said, we were one of the first states to use that program. There are now 18 states that use it. All the military use that same curriculum that we use in the state of Georgia. It's updated on a regular basis. So hopefully I've explained it.
I think pretty thoroughly. So we've got several other questions, I think, for the author right now. But stay close by. We may have something else
Do
come
you
up.
want me to stand here, Mr. Chairman, or sit down?
Well, you can sit right there if you would like. Number 17, Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to make sure I understand. So we're requiring a drug class prior to conviction?
Yes, so we are, so they actually, before conviction, you're right. So like I said before, obviously they got pulled over for a reason and they went through, they got charged with a DUI. And so to get a temporary driver's license, We're just requiring them to get this counseling piece. Obviously, we're letting them back out on the roads again. They got pulled over in the beginning for a reason. But if they do get convicted down the road, this will, satisfy what the judge is going to ask them to do anyway. We're just trying to get them help beforehand.
Okay, follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So how will this impact child support payments?
This does not impact child support payments. That's totally separate. This is only for DUIs.
Okay, another follow up. So I hear what you're saying. You're saying you're moving close to help the state and the individual. However, you're raising the fees in here. So how is that going to help the individual by raising the fees?
Well, the fees, the one raising the fee from 95 to 125, that's actually for a defensive driving part. They haven't had a raise. That's nothing to do with the DUI piece. They haven't had a raise in 10 years. Obviously, inflation's a huge issue. So, the state sets the fee. So I think, raising the fee, from 95 to 125 on the defensive driving part, I think that's in 10 years, everything's going up. So on the other piece, the raising the fee from 100 to 125, that $25 actually is going toward the assessment. So they take the assessment, they go ahead and, let me back up. The $25 is actually going toward them registering with the state. So they send this information, they take it at the end of the, let me back up. At the end of the course, if you take the course, and then you need the certificate to get your counseling done, you have to pay the $25 at the very end. All we're doing is moving that $25 to the beginning of the course. That way it's registered with the state on DMV, and they have that certificate just in case you take the course now and in a year you need to go do your counseling after you went to court. And that DUI school goes out of business, you already have you've already paid it, and it's recorded, so you can take that certificate without going back and having the DUI school sign it after the fact. Does that make sense at all?
No.
All right. So
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. No.
Barry, let Barry. He might be able to.
That's okay. We got several
let's
others,
go.
and we have one more bill we want to try to get to this morning.
Okay.
But Chairman Powell, number 24.
Help a little here with this. To the committee members, first, I want to thank Freshman Representative McCollum for bringing this bill. These are the things that I used to deal with for quite a few years. But let me explain this. When we did the DUI laws back years ago, we required upon conviction that you had a DUI course. And customarily what has been done is judges can give a limited driving permit. Now, they may or may not need this course, but we're requiring now that they take a course. If you've had a DUI, to get a limited driving permit, take the course, take the DUI course. What that also does is if upon conviction, you've already had the course. So that clarifies that language. The other parts of the bill, as you look at it, I want to address the fee increases. One of the reasons historically for the last 40 years, what we've always done with the DUI schools and the risk reduction schools, we've always set what they can charge. And the reason that was always set in statute is because if you don't, then you get into a bidding war. If you get into a bidding war, even though I tend to believe that the free market prevails, but if you get into a bidding war with this, it was always the concern of the legislature that you would have those courses that would be of a substandard nature. So that's the reason we did this. What this is doing is going up on we're giving them a bump on the defensive driving course from $95 to $125, and we're giving a bump on the risk reduction programs from $100 to $125. And that's quite frankly what this does. If you look at toward the end of the bill on line 160, what we're saying that these defensive driving courses and the driving programs, that those programs will be licensed by the Department of Driver Services.
Okay.
And that's what the bill does.
All right. We do have a few more questions, but I'd like to ask Jen at this time to explain. There's been some question about will this affect the bill we've passed to give limited permits to the child support, people temporary? Does anything in this bill affect that?
So if that bill were to pass and this bill were to pass, the child support eligibility would be added in, as if you see all these offenses that are eligible for limited driving permits on 79-386, it will be added. So they will both be able to pass at the same time, and then these you will be required to submit a DUI, proof that you've done the DUI in order to get it. You'd be eligible, but you also have to have the proof of it. So all of these offenses need to show that they've done the DUI classes, and you're gonna put the child support
In this section.
and they will have to show that they've done the DUI classes.
But I don't think that's the intent of the bill. So what we need to do to fix that?
There's other offenses in here that are not related to DUI as well. There's points
And that's probably what we need to work on before when we have another meeting this week. I think that probably creates a lot of heartburn. So, thank you. Number 19, Representative McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm just going to say on line 26, 66, and 121, you used the word any. When I say any department shall accredit any DUI, alcohol, or drug use risk reduction program, and then all of a sudden in line 144, you took out certified and did licensed. So when you say any, does that mean anybody could have a program, or do they have to be licensed? So that's in line 26, 66, and 120 word, you use the word any. And I just want to know, but then in 44, you said you took out the word certified and put license. So does any and licensed and certified, how does that work?
So that the license is licensed by the Department of Driver Services. And then what was your other one?
In line 26, 66, and 121, you got the word any. You have the department shall credit any DUI, alcohol, or drug use risk reduction program. Not certified or licensed or.
Yeah, I get your point. Yeah. So that's maybe something we need to revisit that one.
All right, well, let's look at
I
that
just-
between now and the next meeting. We got one
Okay,
other.
I just wanted to ask that, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm finished.
Yeah.
All right, and now I would like to ask Ms. Leslie if she would like to comment. We've got driver services here. I mean, not necessary, but if you'd like to comment any on the bill, and then we'll move on.
I'm sorry. Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, committee members. I'm Shavonda Leslie with the Georgia Department of Driver Services. Some of the concerns that you guys have already mentioned, we have the same concerns. One would have been the HB 167, which recently passed, which is an agency bill that would adversely impact that bill. This impacts not only DUIs, but also all of the mandatories, under 21 speeding, as well as all of the points, as Jenna has spoken. So if you have things unrelated to DUI, you would be required to take this DUI and risk reduction class, which currently all of these customers do not have to take that. And it is prior to conviction, which is not mandatory at this time.
All right, do we have any questions for Ms. Leslie? I don't see any. Like I said, it's hearing only. Stuff we probably need to look at and address. We'll try to have another meeting. I know I have a room scheduled for Thursday, so we'll try to circle back.
Okay. Yeah, I think that obviously the intent of the bill is just.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever the intent
Yeah,
to this, but I think would it.
right.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. We do have one other bill this morning, House Bill 447. I'm supposed to too, but that's all right. That's here. All right, this is Representative Vance, Kenneth Vance, House Bill 447. If you will state your bill number and the LC number you're working off of.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. Come to speak to you this morning on House Bill 447, LC number 393770. You're all right on that one?
Hold on, that's not what's in the packet. What,
You've got the one where they changed to the temporary.
apparently there's a sub. Tom?
The only change in the sub and what I'm coming from is temporary,
But why don't we give you a copy of the
Yeah,
sub?
just
Everybody
give a
else
copy.
has a copy, so I
Everything
think we're
else-
still okay.
everything else is the same.
But if you'll take a,
I'm learning that you get about 9 copies of things. You just have to guess that the one you get is the right one. So this is really, folks, this is LC 393794S. We're all right on that one. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really called the Georgia Secure Automated Vehicle Enforcement Act, or Georgia SAVE Act. It's using automated license plate readers in marked patrol vehicles to catch uninsured vehicles and/or those vehicles with expired, suspended, revoked, or canceled registrations. The owner would be liable for a civil penalty of $100 for an expired registration, $200 for a suspended, revoked, or canceled registration, and $200 for a lack of liability insurance. There is, you really get 3 strikes in this thing. If you don't pay after the first notice, much like Representative Ridley's favorite school zone cameras, these are not mounted on poles. They are in marked patrol vehicles. And there's 2 ways to go about this. If an officer is going to a call, domestic violence call, for instance, and that reader picks up, he just passed an uninsured motorist. That officer has 2 decisions to make. One, do I turn around and go get the uninsured motorist, or do I get to go to the call of which I've been assigned, the domestic violence call? That, he decides to go on to the domestic violence call. This information goes to the Department of Revenue, and it says that this vehicle is uninsured. They will receive a civil citation, much like the school camera ones do now, and they will have the opportunity to pay that or rebut it within 30 days. If they don't do it within 30 days, then there's a second letter is issued through certified mail, and they get another opportunity, and so forth up through 90 days. Up through 90 days, after 90 days, they do not have a chance to rebut those.
pull the microphone closer to you.
They did not have a chance to rebut those, that civil allegation. Now, if the officer turned around and went and got in the car and issued a traffic summons, that's a misdemeanor, punished through the courts, just like normal. This technology, folks, and I know we're having a hard time with this technology stuff of late. I understand that, but this technology really creates an efficiency that we don't currently have. It increases compliance, and we heard that in front of this committee the other day on another bill, that it'll increase compliance, because right now, at least according to the insurance, what's the name of that group? Insurance Research Council, at least 10% of the drivers on the road today are driving without insurance. You've got people that'll buy a new car, they'll get a month's worth of insurance, and they'll drive for the rest of the year unless they get caught. If they're involved in a wreck with you, you are having to pay more in your insurance to cover that. It's called the uninsured motorist portion of your insurance policy. So what we're using here is technology to allow us to create a greater compliance, provide a civil penalty as opposed to a criminal penalty. There is no points on the civil penalty. There are points on the criminal penalty, and basically get more people to use what the law requires them to do, and that's to have insurance on their vehicles and or register them and keep them registered in the proper manner as we all do on our birthdays. Most of us, it's on our birthdays each year. We re-register our vehicle and pay the appropriate fees. That's the bill in a nutshell. It's a 17-page bill. Most of it is cleaning up language that if this bill is passed, it will codify the language of the current law with this new legislation. It'll just make everything line up better. And I'll be glad to answer questions. I have with me here Ted Baggett, who helped craft the bill initially with language before it went to the Legislative Council. So together we'll try to answer your questions.
All right, we do have a few. Number 17, Representative Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Who is requesting this legislation? Is it law enforcement?
No, ma'am.
An organization?
No, ma'am.
Because I see an enormous amount of fees in here.
Well, let me address the fees just a minute. The fees are capped at $800. If you don't do anything, the most you can be charged is $800. If you wait the 90 days and everything maxes out, it's capped at $800.
Does the local law enforcement agency get all of those fees? How is that split?
Good question, Mr. Chairman. All these fees will go for local law enforcement or law enforcement purposes.
Correct.
It cannot go to the general fund. It's delineated to go for law enforcement purposes.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman. Who requested this
Okay,
legislation?
I'm sorry. This is requested by a company that sells these kinds of machines.
All right, number 19, Representative McLean.
Mr. Baggett added a little bit to that.
Yes.
I just want to add a little bit to that explanation because I think it's really relevant to this. And I think one of the reasons they asked me to help and was retained by the company that is one of the companies that is supporting this legislation. I'm also a city solicitor. I prosecute misdemeanor traffic offenses. And one of the reasons I agreed to help with this is right now, if you come to my court and you've been criminally charged with no insurance, we're starting the discussion at a fine of $800. If you're also charged with suspended registration because your insurance company notified DDS, which it does by operation of law, your license, your automobile registration has been suspended, you're looking at another $800 fine. If you're convicted of that underlying crime of no insurance, your license will be suspended for 60 days. Yes, there's fees that help defray the cost, but there's no points, there's no arrest. This is a far less draconian way of capturing a much larger pool of people. Right now, we're punishing a handful of people very harshly for these criminal offenses. This gives an alternative to catch a wider net of people and punish them far less harshly, to give them that little nudge to go get their insurance. And I think that's the fee. Yes, there's fees, but it's not nearly like what happens to you if you're criminally charged with this offense.
Yes, go ahead.
If you are stopped by that officer, your car is impounded, that's a fee. You have to find somebody to get you home, that's an intrusion. You have to come up with the money to go get your car. You've got to come up with a way to go get it. And it's just this way, yeah, you're driving home in your car, and yes, you're going to get that unexpected letter in the mail that says, surprise, you are driving without insurance, which you probably knew already. People living paycheck to paycheck, like most of us are, you know, they try to find enough money at the end of the month to cover their bills. This way, it allows you at least 30 days to come up with, in this case, $200 for no insurance, no liability insurance. So I'm not saying it's a kinder, gentler way to get caught, but it is a lot less intrusive than that officer who could have stopped you and might stop you from adding all those other things to it, and you're still going to have to go through the same scenario that Mr. Baggett just explained to you.
All right. Representative McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Vance. You know, Representative Vance, you kind of just lost me, but I guess I'll try to come back.
Sorry?
The money's collected. I guess the money's collected goes back to the local government. Correct. So is there any split for the company with these? Does the company get any of the split? I'm just trying to.
There's nothing in the bill that directly talks about that. I'm sure they're going to work out probably some kind of arrangement, either flat fee or some other contract, probably to sell this. They're going to sell this equipment to the local government, or they're going to come up with some kind of contract that has some kind of split. I'm not sure, but there's nothing in the bill that addresses that.
Okay. Who stores the data that they capture? And does the local government store that data, or this outside company have access to that data?
The outside company would have to be in an agreement. They'd have to be, it talks about in the bill, and they would be keeping that data. In the bill, it talks about after 60 days after this is resolved, that data is expunged, it's deleted. This data, it doesn't go on your report. There's no points. It doesn't go to DDS. It's only that jurisdiction that's keeping track of that, because that jurisdiction has to keep track of if you get a subsequent citation under this system. And then also so that they don't simultaneously, try to arrest you or give you the civil penalty. But that data is stored under that agreement in cooperation with the local government. So if their private company is doing it at the behest of the local government.
Okay. Number 28, Representative Ridley.
I got a couple questions. What's the state law on if you got an expired tag? What's the fine right now?
Expired is $100, and that's preserved.
Not in this. I mean, right now, without this right now existence. If you pull me over and I've got an expired tag.
Expired tag is $100.
Okay.
But that's a different charge, right, from suspended or revoked or canceled registration.
Will this right here not catch that and fine you for having an expired tag?
Correct.
And what's the fine for it?
$100.
And currently right now it's $100.
That's right.
Okay. And then if I don't have insurance, it's how much is the fine right now in court?
Criminal law, it's a range of $200 to $1,000.
How's there a range like that?
Statute says that's the.
You can charge anything between that? Is that what they're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And you're not working for the company, or you do work for the
I've
company?
been retained by the company. That's
You
right.
have been retained by the company. Okay. So let me ask you this. Is it not true that this company wants, they want the only contract in Georgia for all the police cars? And they have approached leadership about having an exclusive deal.
I don't know if that's true. I can't say one way or the other. The bill is not drafted in any way that gives any company the exclusive privilege to do this. It's set up to have agreements with local governments, and so any company that was capable of meeting these standards, which is installing the ALPR system in a marked motor vehicle, could do this.
Okay. And the current tag readers that are in police cars now, do they not do the same thing? Do they not flag, like if a person's got an expired tag or license or?
You could get an ALPR system that would do that. The only choice of an officer whose ALPR system triggered that would be criminal prosecution. So pulling them over, giving them a citation, all of the things that go with the inherent risks of a traffic stop. But yes.
So do you not think of if I can, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, please.
Do you not think a person that doesn't have insurance on their vehicle, and I mean, you're talking about a small amount, y'all even said 10% or less of those people, if they don't have insurance already, they at least got a chance right now, let's just say that, of a police officer not pulling them over, but they're going to get dinged for sure with this. And if you got more than one police car with these in there, would they not get multiple tickets if I go through multiple counties?
Well, I mean, it's actually more than 10%, according to the research, or uninsured.
Well, that's what I wrote down. You said 10%.
Yeah, but it's actually more, at least 10%, not less. And, I mean, a lot of these cases just aren't being made. I mean, I see people in my court when there's a traffic accident or as a result of getting pulled over for a moving violation, the officer determines that they didn't have proper insurance or registration. And so the criminal penalties add up by the time they get to us in arraignment. I missed the last. I'm sorry, I had another question.
No, I was just saying, could you not, like, if 3 counties had one and you're going to work and you go through 3 counties, can all 3 counties not hit you and you have a fine from all 3 of them?
That's conceivable.
Yeah. And my last question, you said you're a solicitor now? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
What county?
I'm a city court solicitor in Tucker, Georgia. Our firm represents cities of Lawrenceville and Sugar Hill, where I also assist in those.
Is that,
municipal court.
I don't know, is that, are you a district attorney or?
No,
Solicitor.
city solicitor, so municipal court,
So,
traffic
but-
offenses, Billy.
So are you, like, you're a judge there, I guess, or?
I'm not a judge, I'm the prosecutor.
You're a prosecutor. So you work for the city though, right?
Yes.
Okay. How can the city solicitor, do that job and be retained by a company like this? Is that not a conflict of interest?
We don't, none of the cities, I'm in private practice, none of our cities, for whom I'm a prosecutor, have this technology or do any business with this company.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Will this affect the cap on how much revenue a city or county can collect off of fines at all? I know there's a 35% cap?
Yeah, on the policing for profit, the 35% cap, that, for the annual budget that a police department has, how would that affect this?
This isn't affected, this doesn't affect that. Back when I worked at GMA, that was always about whether or not you were laying speed traps. And historically, that law is addressed at speeding offenses with the idea that you can't fund more than 35% of the police budget with speeding tickets. And so this is not really, these are offenses that are more kind of administrative in nature and not really speed trap kind of offenses.
Number 16, Representative Canal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Representative Ridley may have touched on this, but to be clear, if I take a day trip from Gwinnett County down to Valdosta, I could potentially be scanned and dinged in every jurisdiction I travel through to get there.
Presumably.
Okay.
But you're also violating the criminal law of the state every step of the way that you do that, so you're better off getting the civil penalties.
All right, I see no further questions. Does we have anybody, Representative Vance?
Mr. Chairman, committee, look, folks, we're really trying to get compliance here. You know, and yes, going from Gwinnett County to Valdosta, you're breaking the law, as Mr. Baggett said, in every jurisdiction. You are, whether you're getting a civil citation or getting stopped. You know, you can get stopped for a registered tag or expired registration. They're gonna let you keep driving to the next county who may stop you and do the same thing. So it's not, I don't like us playing one against the other when the law is still the law.
All right, we do have a couple more questions. Representative
Just one more question. So $800 per,
No,
Max.
Max,
even through multiple jurisdictions?
no. I mean, if you wait after 90 days, the way I understand it, if you wait after 90 days, it's $800 in Gwinnett County, $800 in Lowndes County, $800
So it's per.
in Lewis County.
If I take a day trip to Valdosta, it's per jurisdiction, $800 per, okay.
Correct. If you wait till after 90 days. It's only $200 if you pay it within that 30 days, okay? It's only $200. So you may rack up to $800 on the way to Valdosta, or if you wait till after 90 days, you're gonna be paying much more than that.
Thank you.
It's per jurisdiction. So if the first citation is $200. If you go 90 days and don't pay it, you get another citation from the same jurisdiction, it's $400. If you go 90 days and don't pay that one, it's $800. But thereafter, any others that you get cannot exceed $800. If you're in multiple jurisdictions, each of them are on the same schedule. So it's $200 in Valdosta, it's $200 in Savannah.
Representative McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess Representative Vance, you used the word compliance. So speeders, so what we need to have on the interstate is cameras getting speeders. I'm just trying to figure out how would that work?
We already have that. We already have cameras getting speeders in school zones.
In school zones?
School zones. And I guarantee you, in my time up here, we're gonna have something. Technology being what it is, we're gonna have something because we have a lack of law enforcement officers in this state. We're gonna have something that we may not pass it as a legislature, but something like that's gonna come forward to start putting these things, just like we have the folks that run the red light cameras at the intersection. We're gonna have something like that for speeders. You know, sir, I was raised in give people a running chance. You know, give them a chance. Or we'd have road checks outside of bars getting DUIs. Don't do that. You gotta give people a running chance under the law. We're giving you a chance to comply under this law, get your insurance, keep your registration up, and go forward. Or not and pay the penalty.
Mr. Chairman, I guess my only follow-up is, so is there an appeal process? I mean, all I'm just.
Yes.
Yes, there is an appeal process in this.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Ridley.
Let's talk about the appeal process. How does that work?
There's a provision in here that talks about the citation, giving you the time and opportunity to go to court. So that you would go to either a municipal court if this is issued by a city, or presumably a recorder's court, or a probate court if it's an unincorporated area of the county. You have the same due process as you do in anything else.
Well, and I know it says that, but the problem is it's 30 days from the infraction. Is that not correct? You got 30 days from the infraction to pay the fine?
Or appeal.
Or appeal it. Okay, let's go to the appeal part, because what we've had is problems with is people, it's 30 days from the infraction, they're not getting the fine to 2 weeks later. They try to go to court over it, and their court dates, I mean, you know how court is.
I think, sir, that if you notify the court, there you go. If you notify the court that you wish to appeal that civil citation, then that stops your time right there. It may be you go to court 3 months later.
Well, 336 people in Cherokee County would disagree with you in the school zone.
I understand that.
Because they all got one when it malfunctioned, and they suspended every one of them's license before they could get a court date, even though they was all trying to get a court date. And then as far as the appeal process, I don't know if this, and I'm guessing this is going to work the same way, is there's going to be a company somewhere that you're going to have to contact, and the judge up there couldn't even get a hold. I mean, it took him 2 weeks to get a hold of somebody to even tell them that it malfunctioned, but they'd already had their license suspended.
Mr. Ridley, I got a school zone violation in Cherokee County, and I appealed it because school wasn't even in session.
Yes, sir.
I still paid the ticket because of the same thing that you just talked about. It wasn't addressed in the law. It's addressed in this law.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, we have ran a little over. I appreciate everybody's patience. Like I say, this was hearing only. We will have another meeting later this week, and
Thank you,
Go
committee.
forward.
I appreciate it.
thank you for the questions. Thank you for everybody in the audience for being patient.